my friends, thank you all for joining me. If you want to skip my short exposition beginning here and get right on to my thoughts on each track, please use the chapter selection on the YouTube bar or in the description below to skip all that. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about exactly why I was excited about this DLC. Growing up, I didn't play all the Mario Karts, so I knew going in that a lot of these DLC tracks will be new to me, and lo and behold, they were. The games I had owned, the games I have owned and still do own in the Mario Kart series are Mario Kart Circuit, Super Circuit for the Game Boy Advanced, Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube, Mario Kart Wii for the Wii, and Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS. Which means I had never owned Super Mario Kart, I guess it was called, for the Super NES. Now, technically, I did play that, I guess, because all the tracks in that game were unlockables in Mario Kart Super Circuit. So I guess technically I had played the tracks, just not in the original form. I have never owned Mario Kart 64, never owned Mario Kart DS, and never played, and probably never will play Mario Kart Tour. So I knew that going in, some of these tracks are going to be new to me. So that's why I was pretty excited, because it's like, unless they were going to fill it all with tracks I had known, this was going to be a new experience. And I'm very happy to report that, for the most part, I'm very happy with the DLC. I just felt like it'd be a great video to talk about each individual track and my thoughts on it, as well as my experience playing it. Now, if the editing's a little weird, as if it kind of each segment seems to kind of fade into each other, that's because I'm not editing's not exactly my strong point. If really to be honest, nothing is really my strong point here in the ASMR world. I try my very best, but I'm not, I don't have the skill or the dedication that many of these big-time ASMR artists have. I either don't have the skill in editing, or I'm just not willing to pay an editor to do it for me. Because again, this is more of a hobby. I don't expect, unless something drastic happens, I don't expect to make money off this, which is totally fine. That's nothing I want to do anyway. So with that said, why don't we get into my thoughts on each track? Please leave a comment down below, anything you might want me to ramble about in the future, and please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Alright, the best way to talk about these tracks will be basically in the order that they're presented when you get DLC, which is essentially how I experienced these tracks for the first time. I basically just did Grand Prix for each cup to get to know them. So the first one that we're given is the Golden Dash Cup, and the first track on that is Paris Promenade, or however you want to pronounce it. This is from Mario Kart Tour. And there was a little bit of, for me at least, there was a little bit of hype around this track, because I saw on Twitter some person was showing the video of it, and apparently it was going to react like a Luigi circuit from Double Dash, where you would see racers, go opposite ways as they're racing, which I thought was really cool, because I love that in Mario Kart Double Dash. That's not quite what we get, but despite that, I still find it as a pretty fun track. When I was driving it, I was a little confused at first, because I saw the mini-map, and some of that stuff we were never going to touch. So I was thinking to myself as I was racing, did Nintendo take some shortcuts? Did they just port over the map and just forgot to get rid of the parts they were going to use? Like, maybe, I don't know how Mario Kart Tour works, so I was thinking maybe the tracks there are inherently longer for some reason. I don't know. So I was thinking, okay, so they got lazy. But then when the second or third lap came around, I saw the routes changed. I was like, oh, I see what we're doing here. It was similar to, say, what's it called, Wario Mountain, Mario Kart 8, or the two Wii Sport Resort tracks in Mario Kart 7, where it's basically one track, but with 3 different segments. So I was thinking, this is kind of like a hybrid of that. It's the same track in 3 loops, it's just that the loops, each lap takes a slightly different route. And that was actually kind of cool. It does leave variety, and it does force you to think harder about the route you're going to take, because now you have to remember more racing lines, similar to a sprint track, as I call them, or I guess as Mario Kart calls them. So yeah, I really like the track. I was a little disappointed by how little of that Luigi circuit type thing that I thought we were gonna get, that wasn't there. In fact, there really isn't much of it at all, because while I'm playing Grand Prix, I can get ahead of the rather lackluster CPU pretty easily where I can see them on the way back. But the problem is in online where everyone's close to each other anyway, there's no real chance for you to ever really encounter, at least I haven't been able to encounter any racers going the opposite way of me, because we're all so close together that by the time you make that loop around and going the opposite way, you're not going to meet them because everyone's so huddled together anyway. Now, another big thing for me on Mario Kart is shortcuts. I love shortcuts. I like performing shortcuts. Sometimes I will often save my mushrooms specifically to meet a certain shortcut. So I am paying attention to those very thoroughly in these tracks. There's one major one, not major, it's really not major, no major shortcuts, but the one shortcut that they really want to highlight is a shortcut that goes, I think, in between the Eiffel Tower. Unfortunately, it wasn't clear to me that you had to use a mushroom. I guess it makes sense because if you didn't have to use a mushroom, everyone would take that route. But it wasn't immediately clear that you had to use a mushroom, or the place was going to be slower because it's blocked by cardboard piranha plants. But I thought you should go through them because you could in what was that called? The pipeline track in Mario Kart 8. I can't remember what it's called. But you can go through the wooden Goombas and that, but you don't seem to be able to go through the wooden piranha plants in the Mario Kart Tour track. Although that probably has a lot to do with you slowing down from the shortcut. So the shortcut game in this is not that great, but that's okay. You don't have to have great shortcuts to be a good track. And ultimately, this is a fun track. Once you get used to it, it's quite fun. It doesn't make me want to play Mario Kart Tour. I don't think you can move heaven and earth to make me play Mario Kart Tour. But I'm glad this track is in it. It is certainly not. It certainly doesn't feel like a filler track, and I'm happy to get more Mario Kart Tour tracks because these are definitely going to be experiences I would never have. The second track in the cup is Toad's Circuit from the Nintendo 3DS Mario Kart 7. This one's kind of interesting because for a couple of reasons. Not only its placement in the cup, but its inclusion at all. You see, Toad's Circuit is generally going to be the first track you race in Mario Kart 7. And if you're not an avid Mario Kart player, you may not necessarily know that these circuit tracks, whether it be Toad Circuit, Mario Circuit, Peach Circuit, Luigi Circuit, you get the idea, are always the introductory tracks just to get you for the feel of Mario Kart. They tend to be pretty bland and fairly easy to drive, just so you can just to give you a general idea on the mechanics of Mario Kart. So they're not made to be the best track. Very rarely would I ever say that one of these circuit tracks are the best track, except for Luigi's Circuit from Mario Kart Double Dash, and that just because that game is just crazy all around. Like, that game is not normal, but that's fine. So, I would a million times rather have Luigi's Circuit from Double Dash than Toad's Circuit. It is a really bizarre track to pick, especially given it as the second track in the cup. We go from the rather intense Paris Promenade to Toad's Circuit, which is pretty mundane and rather boring to drive. It's not a horrible track. None of these tracks are bad. It's just that these circuit tracks are made for people who are getting used to the mechanics of Mario Kart. If we're going to be honest, except for Luigi's Circuit from Mario Kart Double Dash, I don't think any circuits like this should be included in these DLCs. You aren't exactly buying them as your first time playing. Well, at least I don't. Most probably aren't. Like, Mario Kart sold like 30 million. This Mario Kart sold like 30 million units right now. It's like I don't think there's gonna be too many more buying it. Although we'll have to see. It's possible that will age poorly. It's just that there are so many more tracks. Like pretty much almost any track in Mario Kart 7 I'd rather have than Toad's Circuit. And I'm sure some people love it. No shaming here, but it seems like an odd choice and if you're going to include it, put it as the first track that you're going to play, not the second one, or at least not after Paris Promenade, which is fairly crazy to play. So I guess it's hard for me to get into a track because I know I've played it before. It's kind of bland. It's made to be bland, so it's kind of weird to put into such a hype DLC. That's just me. It's not a horrible track, and it's rarely chosen online that I've seen. Maybe that's why. So, like I said, it's not a horrible track. It just seems like a rather bizarre choice to include in such a very anticipated DLC. The next track we'll talk about is the Mario Kart 64's Choco Mountain. Now, I had minor experience with Choco Mountain, not playing it, but at least seeing it. I watched this track be played out in in one of Summoning Salt's videos. I think it was like World Record Progression of Mario Kart 64, or may have been like Choco Mountain specifically, I don't remember. But I was at least somewhat aware of the Choco Mountain and what its gimmick was. Apparently its gimmick was you could fall off the edge and be behind in the track. Like there's a loop, loop, there's a loop that does this, and you could fall from high up to low and you have to go back around that loop again. Does not appear like you can do that in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the DLC version, and that's probably for the better. Like, I don't think people very much appreciate that nowadays with how these things are going. So, now outside of that, I was actually very surprised at how much I really like this track. I had read before that Mario Kart 64's games are Mario Kart 64 is praised even today for its pretty unique track design. So I'm not entirely shocked that it's that popular, or is that good, I mean. So I've heard some people say it's a little too short, but I don't really see a problem. I don't really see, it doesn't seem like any shorter than most other tracks. Yeah, it's a little shorter than, say, the Mario Kart Tour tracks that are on this DLC, but those tracks are long to begin with. And of course, like Wario, I'm not gonna count even like WarioWare, the sprint tracks, because those tracks are long to begin with. But I didn't see a problem with the length. It's not any shorter than the, what's it called, Koopa Cape, I think, in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, or, I don't know. But I didn't have a problem with length. It also wasn't too narrow. The only thing I guess I could say is the boulders a little big, but they're obstacles. Of course they're going to be hard to avoid. As for shortcuts, there wasn't really any dedicated shortcuts except in the cave section, which is very well designed. Like that was a great way to translate 64 to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as a cave. In the cave section, there's a minor shortcut you can do. Instead of like taking a minor S turn, you can just zip through with a mushroom between a pillar. Really nice shortcut. But again, like I said, I like shortcuts, but a good track doesn't necessarily have to have them. And I forgot to mention in the last segment, Toad Circuit does have shortcuts, but they're very minor ones where you can just cut through some S-curves, nothing significant. But as is, I very much like Choco Mountain. You can really speed through it. It's a really great track, and it can be a little claustrophobic with 12 characters. This track is clearly made for 8, not 12. But despite that, it's really fun. I especially like the cave section and the ending section where you are making a few jumps. It kind of makes me think that Wario Stadium from 64 would work well as well. I heard that's a very long track as well. Nintendo 64 tracks, I think some of them are really long, such as the Yoshi Valley, which is one of my favorites in Mario Kart 8. So next we have Coconut Mall. Now this is the third edition I have played. Obviously I've played the Mario Kart Wii one. I've also played the Mario Kart 7. And since this was one of my favorite tracks in Mario Kart Wii, I am very happy to see it here. I will say one thing, the only problem I would say with this track is that it really wasn't a shock to me, or not a shock, but nothing surprised me in this because I played this track so often that it was a new experience. It was not a new experience for me for the most part. But that's not really the DLC's fault. Like, it can't help that I played the 2 games it came from. So, that does not really affect my opinion of it. Despite that, however, it is really great to see it again. And I will say, you can tell this track was made for 12 racers. As again, it came from Mario Kart Wii, which was the first Mario Kart game to introduce 12 racers on a track. As when we got to Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS, they reduced it back to 8, probably because of the 3DS's power. And in the 3DS, the Coconut Mall did feel kind of barren in comparison. So it's very nice for it to get a revamp in a new game with 12 characters. Not only 12 characters, but 2 items each. And that's something I like about these DLCs. You can, even if they were made for 12 characters, you can tell that pretty much all of them are not made for characters to have 2 items each. That's 24 items, 24 potential items to be on the track as opposed to 12. The only ones I can imagine will be Ray for that would be the double dash tracks, because those did have, well, they didn't really have 12. The most I guess you have is 16 because they had 8 tracks, but given how big those items are, it makes more sense. But I'm getting off track. I've always loved Coconut Mall. The idea and concept of driving around in a mall, racing in a mall, is such a cool idea, and it looks like a mall. That's the cool thing. It's not like Toad's Factory from Mario Kart Wii was it looks like a factory, but it's really not designed like a factory. This Coconut Mall, for the most part, looks like it could really be a mall. And all parts of I really like this track. It's always been one of my favorites. As for shortcuts, there really aren't a whole lot. The only real shortcut would be that towards the beginning after you go up the first escalator, that cross going into the store there. Doesn't really save you a whole lot of time, but it's cool. It's fun to do. Like, the track is just fun overall. The only two minor things I would say that are legitimately a problem, I guess, would be one, it's not as fun to look at as the Mario Kart Wii version. As Mario Kart Wii had a lot of personality. There was a lot of people watching you, Plantinos, whatever they're called, Shy Guys, whatever. But in Mario Kart, in this DLC, it seems like it's a little more barren. But again, that's not a huge deal because you're racing so quickly that doesn't really matter. Second one, which is kind of disappointing, is at the end in the parking lot. In Mario Kart Wii, you had your Miis drive back and forth to try to hit you as you're racing. I think in Mario Kart 7, it was Shy Guys who drove it. I don't remember the game very well. But Miis have so much personality. You can see your Miis even watching you or in the store. Very fun. Here, they just forego that altogether. Not only are there no boost panels, but the cars just are stationary, so there's a slalom obstacle. That's a little sad because that's what gave Coconut Mall life. But those are kind of minor complaints, as the core of Coconut Mall is still here, and it reminds me as to why Coconut Mall is still one of my favorite tracks. Alright, now we go on to the second cup in this wave, called the Lucky Belt Cup. And the first track in this cup is Tokyo Blur from Mario Kart Tour. Now, it was pretty fun to experience another Mario Kart Tour track, because not only is it a very different game than most other Mario Karts, or any other Mario Kart as it were, but I'm never going to have opportunity to experience it, not because I don't have a phone, because I don't care. So, it's really fun to play. I thought it was going to be really fun to play these tracks in the context of Mario Kart that I know. And for the most part, it was a very competent, fun level. For the most part, very well designed. Although I think with this one, I kind of got a glimpse of what will happen later, where I realized that these tracks are not made for this type of Mario Kart, where you control every aspect and it's just insane. Now, I've never played Mario Kart Tour, so I don't know much about it, but that's the way it felt like. First off, there are a lot of straightaways that just seem to take way too long to get through, even with some of the faster karts. Simple layout of boost panels will fix that. When it comes to shortcuts, there's one major shortcut that's fun. It's a cut through, but any cut through is a ramp I'm kind of a sucker for, except for a couple in Mario Kart 8, where some of them you can't really trick off of. You kind of have to drift off them or you hit a wall. So, but yeah, that was fun. Again, I'm also very happy with how the track goes, where every time you go through a lap, you take a slightly different route. One thing I did, however, have a problem with was it seemed that the swamps that were there seemed kind of forced, like they were just kind of too giving obstacle. It didn't really make any sense, but they were there anyway. I don't know if they were there in the Mario Kart Tour, maybe that's why they were there, but I felt that, it was just an excuse to make the track less barren, less boring, which didn't really help it to a degree. Like, it's still kind of a boring track, not horrible by any means. It's kind of fun, but it's kind of boring because it feels like it takes a little while to get through. At least that's how it felt sometimes. Like, sometimes when I'm playing it online, it felt pretty intense. But that just could be the nature of the game. Like, it's not a horrible track by any means, and I'm glad it's here. It's a lot better than some of the other tracks I know we're probably going to get, or we could get. But as is, it's an okay track, I guess. Nothing too special, but it is cool to get a track from a mobile game. Like, Can we just stop and think how insane that is? But overall, I would say it gets 1 thumbs up, not 2. Next is Shroom Ridge from Mario Kart DS. Now this is kind of funny. If you go to like NintendoLife.com or any place that's advertising the DLC or advertised DLC before it came out, if you look at the official photo of Nintendo that shows the 8 tracks, the funny part is Shroom Ridge is labeled 3DS, and I was a little confused because I'm like, I played Mario Kart 7. I know that track is not there. And I decided I had to go back to, I had to find my copy of that and go back to it. It's like, yeah, it's not here. So that's kind of funny. I was a little confused, but, you know, it is what it is. I have a feeling they kind of rushed the DLC out. Not really rushed it, but it's like, well, it's still selling well. We don't want to give Mario Kart 9, or Mario Kart 10 as it were, so we'll just get this out here. But, as is, I have to say that when it comes to, like, Mario Kart tracks that take place on a highway or something, for me they're kind of hit or miss. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. For instance, I love the ones from Mario Kart Double Dash. Not a big fan of the ones from Mario Kart Wii, and I don't really like Toad's Turnpike at all. That's probably my least favorite track, or one of my least favorite tracks in Mario Kart 8. And this unfortunately falls in the latter category. It's not a horrible track, and it's certainly better than like Toad's Turnpike or the ones from Mario Kart Wii. But as is, Shroom, what was it called? Shroom Ridge, I think, it's kind of weak. Like, it feels kind of bland. The cars really don't get in the way that much, so they're not really an obstacle. And when it comes to shortcuts, there is one shortcut you can take where you fall off the edge and then wind picks you up, but it's a little more trouble than it's worth to get, so I never bother. Not to mention I never have mushroom because the track is so short. I don't really save for mushrooms. It's just that the problem is that with these highway tracks, there is a fine line between it just being impossible to race, such as the nighttime one from Mario Kart Wii. I forgot what it's called. Or that it's so barren that it's almost pointless to make it a highway, such as Toad's Turnpike. While there are a lot of cars, it's so wide that you can pretty much avoid anything. Very rarely do I have issues with that. My big issue with that track is that I tend to pick slower vehicles, so that is definitely a track that I have trouble with. With this, it's not bad by any means. It's just kind of barren and bland. I have a feeling it's probably one of the early tracks in the Mario Kart DS. You have to, if anybody played that and knows that's not true, please leave a comment down below. As I am ignorant, I have never played Mario Kart DS and probably never will, as there's no real point at this time. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I want to talk about? I guess not. Like, it's not like Toad's Circuit where you're baffled as to why they chose it. There's probably a very good reason. Like, it may be a fan favorite, or they wanted to get one out there with the highway motif. So it's not like Toad's Circuit where I'm wondering why they put it in. It's just not my cup of tea. For all I know, it may be a fan favorite, and that's perfectly fine. I may be an odd bird, and that's perfectly fine. It just did not really get to me as it probably did some other people. Next is Sky Garden from the Game Boy Advance. Now, one of my favorite things when it comes to these retro tracks is when they take the 3D track or the 2D tracks and turn them into 3D. Even the novelty alone makes them very fun to play. Especially in Mario Kart Wii, where it's like, holy crap, they took some of these tracks I know, such as Bowser Castle 3 from Game Boy Advance, and turned them in 3D. Even though they feel flat, it was still so cool. And who knew how good they would get in Mario Kart 8, as they're even better now, especially that Mario Circuit from Game Boy Advance they turned into a really intense track. And they did the same thing here. Sky Garden was one of my favorite tracks, probably number 2 on my Game Boy Advance. Number 1 was being Cheeseland, so you can imagine how happy I was when that eventually came onto a Mario Kart 8. But Mario Kart Sky Garden was always one of my favorites in Mario Kart Super Circuit. And the way they turned this into something that winds up and down is great. It's almost the entire thing is almost anti-gravity, and it's pretty cool. They brought back the mushrooms from Mushroom Gorge in Mario Kart Wii. I do wish they would utilize a little more, but who can complain that this track is actually here. I'm very nice to see the Game Boy Advance game get so much love. I'm a little prisoner of nostalgia as I used to play Mario Kart Super Circuit all the time. But even then, this track is so creative that it works, and it just works objectively. When it comes to shortcuts, there are a couple of shortcuts you can do. A lot of them kind of copy off what you could do in the Game Boy Advance, but nothing intensely out there, and that's okay because this track I, is really meant to be more of a easygoing track for the most part. It's very windy, but that's fine as it's one of those tracks where you can wind and still maintain speed. It's not like other tracks where it has some really sharp turns that it's really hard to maintain speed. This track is fairly easy to drive, and that's perfectly fine. It also looks great in the graphics department. Some people have complained that some of the DLC seems kind of lazily done or kind of barren, and for the most part, I disagree. Yes, some features are not prevalent there, but I'm not always the biggest graphics guy. Like, as long as it plays well, I'll be fine. As long as it's like total butt, I guess, I'll be fine. And here it looks fine. The colors are nice. I like the brick patterns that they use for parts of it. I do wish the sound effect of when you're going over the gates was there, like it was in the Game Boy Advance game, but that's kind of nitpicking at this point. This is a great trick they introduced. I'm very glad that one of my childhood favorites has made it onto um, Mario Kart 8, even if it was from a DLC, and I really hope we see more 2D tracks, whether it be from Super Circuit or from Game Boy Advance, make it on here. As Game Boy Advance itself has a number of tracks I would love to see included on this DLC pack. And last but not least, we have Ninja Hideaway, which is from Mario Kart Tour. Remember when I said earlier about Tokyo, the Tokyo level, Tokyo Blur, I think, being, it kind of seemed like it just was not made for this type of Mario Kart. It's pretty glaringly obvious in Ninja Hideaway. That it seems like the track, the corners and the way it's designed seems a little too difficult for something that you have total control over. Now, before I get hate comments, I'm saying, well, you only hate the track because it's hard for you're bad. Some of my favorite tracks in Mario Kart 8 are the hard ones. Like, for instance, Treeland I love, despite being hard. I really like the Rainbow Road that we got. The Shy Guy one where they're in kind of the jungle is really fun, and the two F-Zero tracks, which are difficult, are very fun as well. In fact, for the most part, the original DLC that came with Mario Kart 8, that obviously automatically came with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, generally are pretty hard, but there are some of the highlights of the highlights of the game. So I'm not criticizing Ninja Hideaway simply because I'm bad at it. It's just that it's not intuitive like other tracks are. This is the only track where I was thinking to myself, holy crap, what were they thinking? And that's not a bad thing. Like, once you get into it, it's pretty fun. It's just designed really weird. First off, towards the beginning, there's a section where you can go up the stairs. I didn't even know you could drive on that. It wasn't until I saw something online do it, I was like, what? That like a wall to me. Maybe in the context of Mario Kart Tour and how that game works, it's a little more obvious that you can drive off that. If not, it forces you to. But here, it just was not obvious to me. I played all 3 laps of the Grand Prix single player, and it did not occur to me you could drive up that. When it comes to shortcuts, it's really hard to comment on that because, the track itself is designed so weird that it's hard to tell what is shortcut or what is meant to be done. Like, for instance, when you get on, when you're hovering for a while and you get onto that little, like, 3-pillar thing, is that shortcut or is that just part of the track? It seemed like they're both the same. So, it's a really bizarrely added design track. And if I'm correct, now please let me know in the comments if I'm not. If I'm correct, I think Mario Kart Tour kind of has an auto steering feature. So, even if it does seem kind of hard to control, it was made for Mario Kart Tour, which is not an issue. It does it for you. So that's the kind of thing I'm getting at is this track just was not made. You can tell this track was not made to be here. That's why I'm thinking this DLC thing was kind of a slightly makeshift idea. Not necessarily a bad one, but it's a makeshift one. Where like, you know what? Mario Kart 8 is lasting a lot longer than we thought, so we better get something out there to keep people more interested until we get something else out. So, again, not a horrible thing. I much rather have DLC than not, but that's what this Ninja Hideaway feels like. It's not all bad. Like, that hovering section is actually pretty fun, and the graphics are really good. Like, of the three Mario Kart tools, this is definitely the best looking one, if not the best looking one in the entire DLC. So it looks great, the environment's great, it's really cool. It's actually a really fun concept to drive on these Japanese towers, or Japanese towers. Kind of funny that we got two Japanese levels, but I'm not here to complain. But ultimately, fun, but really odd inclusion, as it does not feel like it was made for this type of racing. Alright, before I sign off, I should probably give an impromptu ranking of the tracks from my least favorite to my favorite in this Wave 1, I guess. So let's get started. I guess number 8 would be Toad Circuit, as I feel like that track is a little too bland to be included in these tracks that range from good to, to insane. So it feels like this one's kind of on inclusion. Number 7, I would put Shroom Ridge. I was never a huge fan of highway levels, and this one is kind of weak. It's not horrible, but it does feel a little bit bland compared to the other tracks. It has its place, and it's good that it's here, and it's certainly better than Toad Circuit, but again, kind of odd inclusion. Number 6, I guess, would be Ninja Hideaway. The problem I have with that track is that it feels like it was not lazily put together, but it was not adapted to Mario Kart 8, or Mario Kart's general style of playing, as you're in full control of everything. So the corners seem a little too sharp. The raceway seem a little too narrow, as if Mario Kart Tour snaps you to that track, and Mario Kart 8 just does not work like that. Number 5 would be, I guess, Tokyo Blur, as that was a good track. It just feels a little too similar to the Paris one, and slightly bland, but still looks very nice. And when you're able to go fast on it, especially on 200cc, it does shine a lot better. Number 4, I guess I would put Paris Promenade, as that is definitely the best track of the three Mario Kart Tour tracks, and feels like it really does fit very well with Mario Kart, and I can totally see it as an original Mario Kart track. Looks very nice, plays very nice, and a blast to play online. Number 4, I guess I would put... Oh no, I guess that was number 4. Number 3, I would put Sky Garden. I'm kind of a prisoner of nostalgia, as that was one of my favorite tracks growing up. However, despite that, it still holds up very well. It's adapted beautifully to Mario Kart 8 style, similar to Mario Circuit from Game Boy Advance, and it's just a blast to play on. Not the most difficult track, but that's okay. Difficulty is added when you're playing online with some people who are just really good at the game. Number 2 I'd put is Coconut Mall. Honestly, I would put that number 1 if it were, because it's one of my favorite tracks, if the graphics didn't feel like it was downgraded. While technically I guess the lighting and stuff looks better on the Switch, I much prefer the lively look of the Wii. Despite that, it is still Coconut Mall, a very well designed level with a wonderful concept to it that I wish was here to begin with. And number 1, I would put Choco Mountain, or Choco Mountain, however you pronounce it. I'm actually really surprised I like this as much as I did. I expect this to be an okay track because it's from 64, these tracks are not made to be that insane, and it is a little narrow, but despite that, it looks awesome. It's a fun track to be on, and it's pretty exhilarating to dodge the boulders, or barely dodge the boulders, and that ending where you're jumping is really fun. Like, the entire track is just really well designed and very well adapted to Mario Kart 8. Well, that will be my final rankings of the tracks. If you haven't already, before I sign you off, if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, as well as comment anything you may want to see from my channel. I ask you to do all 4 of those because apparently I've learned that YouTube doesn't exactly favor smaller channels. I know that's a big shock, but what I mean by that is apparently it sounds like they kind of downgrade the quality of smaller channels just so they don't take up as much room on their servers. And the best way to make sure that doesn't happen is if you help me and tell the algorithm that these videos are liked. That is if you like them. So thank you very much for your help. So I just want to thank you all very much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.